Hi, CUSSD. It's nice to see you. I don't anticipate a whole lot of people being super ultra interested in this case yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and start a little early because we're just breaking into a new case. This is a case that while I was kind of going through my Google searches, it popped up. And this gal's name is Mica Miller, or Mica Miller. I think it's Mica Miller. It looks like it's Mica Miller. And this lady is a pastor's wife. And she was found in North Carolina in this state park with a bullet in her head. And of course, before the autopsy and all the information comes out, her husband is telling this congregation that she unalived herself out there. So apparently she's had some stints, where she's talked to people about this. So what I'm going to do, I think the best way to clear this up so everybody's on the same page is I have a New York Post pulled up here. We're going to read it together. We're going to get informed. But I have a video that I want you guys to watch because this is what now has brought this to the Bullhorn Betty channel. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll just read together. So this is about the South Carolina pastor's husband claims the wife died of suicide as family urges police to take a deep dive and investigate her death. And no, I did not misstate when I said North Carolina because North Carolina is the one investigating her case. And I'll explain that, and it might explain it in this particular article as well. So here we go. A South Carolina pastor claimed his wife of suicide Saturday, 6 months after she filed for divorce. As her family pleaded for police to deeply investigate the sudden death, Mica Miller, 30, was found to have suffered a fatal gunshot to the head at Lumber River State Park in Lumberton, North Carolina. That's why North Carolina is leading the investigation, guys. Miller's husband, John Paul Miller, is a pastor at Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, who broke the news of her death during a recent service after asking his congregation not to discuss it inside the church. I got a call last night. My wife has passed. It was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina, Miller said before sharing the details for her planned memorial service. Y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. You all knew she wasn't well mentally and she needed medicine that was hard to get to her. I'm sure there will be more details to come, but keep her family in your prayers. Not our family. He said keep her family in your prayers. And then there he is right there. There's more to come. You guys are going to want to stick around again. There's a reason why we're debuting this, and it's not because it's a New York Post. I can tell you that. Friends of the pastor's late second wife were taken aback over Mica Miller's death and urged officials to look into it deeply. This has to be at least looked into deeply. There's got to be some accountability here, Kenn Young told WPED, because a tragic life was lost. And it's not just as simple as a mental health issue. Mica Miller's death comes as the Robeson County Sheriff's Office opened an investigation into the April 27th shooting. Officials are in the process of gathering information from people in South and North Carolina as part of their investigation into how Miller died. Major Damian McLean told the outlet. McLean revealed that there is no indication of the community being in danger. She had struggled with suicide before. Each time we would help her through it and take her to the doctors and we would get her through it. Everything was fine. She even gave a few testimonies here at church that we have on video. John Paul said she battled suicide, but God took care of her and got her through it. As the pastor claims, he and his wife spent every night together for hours just talking and talking and talking. Mica Miller filed for divorce from her husband in October 2023, according to the court records viewed by the Post. I don't understand how she can go from talking to him every single night for hours and hours and hours to wanting a divorce. You typically don't do that, because if you rely on that person to talk to you for hours and hours and hours, you would want to maintain those hours and hours and hours. I don't know. The case was dismissed in February, but a few days later, John Paul Miller filed a separation support and maintenance seeking financial support as the couple were still legally married. That was a dick move. In April, Mica Miller also filed for separate support and maintenance, with a hearing scheduled for June 5th. Her family is seeking justice for, maybe it's Mica, I don't know, because it looked like America, like Mica, I don't know. It might be Mica, it might be Mica. I'll have to listen to some videos and see the pronunciation of her name. I want to make sure that we get that right. As they claim, a no-contact order and a divorce was filed days before her death, according to the Robsonian. We are devastated. Prayers appreciated. Oh, it still goes on. There's a lot to talk about already going on. There is a lot to talk already going on, so I want to set the record straight. Our sister Mica Miller passed away yesterday. Please do not listen to false stories being shared about you. Mica Miller's sister Savannah shared on Facebook, Mica was a God-fearing, joyful, loving woman who did not deserve the abuse she endured. If you hear anything about this from anyone other than her family, please question it. Reach out to her siblings or her parents. Keep our family in your prayers, and if you have any information that needs to be shared, please contact one of us. Please respect us in this time and honor her memory with joy that she is no longer suffering. Mica Miller was remembered as energetic, adventurous, and she met her husband in 2009, and the two were married in 2017. Wow, that's a long courtship, according to her obituary. Kansas native Mica was a worship leader, graphic designer, youth leader, women's ministry leader, and pastor's assistant. One of Mica Miller's final Facebook posts included her smiling with a selfie along with an eerie caption, "When terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, you know all what I'm talking about. RPF, resting peace face." She's survived by her husband, siblings, and 5 stepchildren. So she was taking care of 5 children. So again, this is just a case that we are going to be covering. It's a case that I can tell you it doesn't sit right with me. And if it's not sitting right, it's not sitting right. But this is more importantly what I want you guys to hear, because I think this is the reason why I decided to go ahead and run this case and go ahead and pick and do it right now. I didn't have this plan, nor was I planning on going live. But we do have a Facebook group right now designated for discussions. If anybody wants to go over there and look more into this case, it is Unexplained Death of Mica Miller. Unexplained Death of Mica Miller. Let me just see if I got let me see if I can share this in the chat. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Share. Yes, we want to share, and I want a link. We got a link. Everybody go over there and sub up to this. This is the Facebook group. We're going to be throwing some discussion topics down there. And I could use all of the people over there as we start discussing this group and having our group discussions in it. There was something that was posted in another group called that was from Small Town Vice. And I wanted to read this to you before I get to the video. So just bear with me. It is a little lengthy. Actually, I'll pull it up here so we can all read it together. There we go. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Oh, well, at least it's working better today than it was yesterday when it was getting us seasick. Okay, the first thing is going to be a long post. Second, it relates to the history of JP, which is John Paul and Mica Miller. Third, we're going to simplify things and use this post to share anything we find on the case in comments. This way you will not have to research everywhere on our timeline. They have a Reddit page. I don't know what this is for, but they're giving a cut of what is coming from the Reddit page. So even though this case is new, there's so much information coming out. I will try my best to keep things on topic and not confusing. I urge you to read this until the end. It's going to end up being a huge case. There are a couple deaths involved. There are, and that's what we're getting to. But we are here mostly and most recently for Mica Miller. Victim Mica Miller, husband John Paul Miller, father of John Paul is Wayne Miller. When Mica was 14 years old, she lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and started attending a youth group at Solid Rock Church. It was there that 28-year-old, they have a huge age difference. 14 years old she was. He was 28 years old. One red flag right there. It was there that 28-year-old John Paul started grooming her while he was married to his wife, who he shares 5 children with. His charges when he was married for her were knowing damaged property ×2, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a liquor by a minor ×2, possession of consumed liquor by a minor, cannabis possession of 2.5 grams, contributing to the delinquency of a child, domestic battery, bodily harm, domestic battery, physical contact, assault and battery of high and aggravated nature ×2, being on the premises after warning or refusing to leave. The two got married when Mica was 23 years old and JP was 37 years old. JP is the owner of Church Solid Rock, and from local reviews ran off a lot of people. He has a misogynistic views, would verbally attack people, and everyone feared for Mica. He verbally, financially, mentally, physically, spiritually, and sexually assaulted her throughout her marriage. If she wanted to leave, he would have her committed to a mental hospital. He openly talked about her struggles during his sermon, as did she. JP failed to mention that he was the reason for her mental struggles. He would emotionally torture her, make her watch him have sex with other women in front of her, slash her tires, stalk her, put tracking devices on her car. She was even sleeping on a couch, terrified of him finding and committing her again from another friend. Mica escaped JP in February 2024. Friends were hiding Mica. She found out he was doing things with the money from the church. After that, he put her in a mental hospital again. When she got out, she told friends, "I'm not mentally ill. I'm not sick. I don't want to harm myself. And he's going to make it look like I KILLED'd myself." This is like pretty cray-cray, if you ask me. She knew that this was where he was going with it. He's going to try to frame me. One day I know he's going to do it. The church is not listening with this Southern Baptist Convention, nor is it listed as nonprofit. This could have been what Mica found out. He was committing tax fraud and had been for years. This last month, she started reconnecting with friends that JP had forced her to isolate from. One message from Mica to a friend on April 5th reads, "Thank you for your gentle warning throughout the years regarding my relationship with JP. I know that you knew I wasn't ready to get out, but looking back on your warnings were very helpful when trying to make a tough life decision. Definitely have replayed our convos in my head over and over throughout the years and wish there was something I could do to get out, and now I've done it." So she was leaving, and we know that leaving is the most dangerous time in an abusive relationship. To give an example of what this guy is like when he preaches, in February 2024, he was part of a sermon. He reads aloud to his churchgoers, "You know, a year ago, my wife, they went to Africa. They had a wonderful trip. They came back with the idea to start a school in Africa. And 6 weeks ago, she goes to the hospital, gets out, and just leaves me, completely leaves me, drains our bank account. And I go, guess what? While you're talking bad about me out there, I'm building a school in Africa for over 100 kids in order to feed them." The goers goes on about God, then one day I'm going to preach to God about getting rich, strong, healthy, and finding a hot wife that loves Jesus. That's what I'm going to do. That's a little off-putting from a preacher, to say the least. Coming from the Bullhorn Betty show, not so much, but a pastor? Yeah. Then he continues to bash Mica, saying, when my wife was in the hospital, I looked at her phone and I counted over the past 2 years, 18 people who had texted her and said, if you ever want to talk to someone about your husband, you can talk to me and say anything and I'll keep it confidential. This made him visibly angry while on stage. Mica filed for divorce and protective order 48 hours before she was found dead. The crime. In her final week, she made plans to get her hair cut, get help with her car payment because she was a little short after paying the divorce lawyer, and planned on meeting her friends at the church service Sunday, April 28th. On Saturday, April 27th, Mica left in her work uniform to work at J. Peter's, a local restaurant. She never showed. Her body was discovered an hour and a half away in Lumberton, North Carolina. Her cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. JP was not allowing her family to see her and was pushing for a quick cremation that was denied, and the family has seen her. Hours later, her husband holds church service as normal Sunday, April 29th. He has no remorse, emotion, and cracks jokes during his sermon. The last 30 seconds of it, he says, I'm paraphrasing, but listen to it as I go. I have an announcement, and I ask you after you leave the church, and do not talk about my announcement. I hope you continue to come back to church and serve and give. You know, for the next little bit, I'm taking a little bit of a break. I don't want to have to worry about the church. My break might be a few days or a few weeks. I don't know. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away, and yeah, it was self-induced. And it was up in North Carolina. And have a funeral for her next Sunday at 3 p.m. And I'm just, going on adrenaline right now. Y'all know she wasn't well mentally, and she needs her medicine that was hard to get. And there is a video of this. 3 days later, her husband is seen in a photograph at Coastal Grand Mall going to sushi with his girlfriend. And we're going to pause right there while we get over to this video. And we'll come back to it.
There's an interesting development in the Pastor John Paul Miller case and the death of his wife. Remember, the pastor is the one who oddly announced at the end of a church service how his wife died.
I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. Yeah, it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina.
Now, Pastor John Paul and his wife Mica had been separated for some time, long enough for Pastor John Paul Miller to have a girlfriend. And this girlfriend has an interesting past. Her name is Susie Skinner, and according to multiple sources, Susie and Pastor John Paul have been dating for quite a while.
Now, this is where I have just a tidbit of an issue, because I don't know what for a while is. And for a while can be a number of things. Like for me, for a while can be a couple years, right? For a while to somebody might be 5 years. I mean, we had a lady that called in on our morning show that had been married to her husband for 45 years. For a while, literally maybe 5 years for her. So how long were they together? Because this is going to be key, because there's some really, really important stuff here that you need to watch.
And that's interesting because the pastor and Mica Miller were not legally divorced. And as you can tell in this picture with Susie, the pastor still has his wedding ring on. But there's something disturbing.
How does that make you feel? A pastor going out after his wife unalived herself to have sushi. This is just about as bad as the Proudfoots going out for a frickin' barbecue when you got 100 people searching for your son while you sit on your rump. This is This is going to be a huge case. I can tell you there's something that attracts me to a case. I don't know what it is, but if it gets me this curious into it, where I'm digging in and having an impromptu live about it, I'm telling you, there's something here, and there is a lot here. Oh, thank you, Green Eyes. God bless you.
That the pastor and Susie Skinner have in common.
We're learning more about the man who died after being found unresponsive in an Horry County pool. The victim was 40-year-old Christopher Skinner, a paraplegic and a motivational speaker.
Susie Skinner's former husband, Chris Skinner.
So what do you guys think about that? Like, I wish I knew which one was the dun dun dun. Here, we can do this one. Lightning. Like, that's mind-blowing. I'm sorry, that is mind-blowing. So now you have a woman that lost her husband by an accident, that's been with a pastor for a while, that all of a sudden his wife, as she's walking out the door to leave him and divorce him. But the thing is, tax fraud. Is that why he wouldn't let her leave? He had been grooming her since she was 14 years old. 14. She died at 30. I'm sick to my stomach.
Died from a drowning accident. Chris Skinner had a tragic accident some 20 years ago that left him bound to a wheelchair, but he adapted and lived a beautiful life. And according to Susie, he enjoyed going to their community pool often by himself. And on Labor Day 2021, Chris did just that. But apparently something went terribly wrong.
So he has been there, going there for years. Never had a problem, went there for years. All of a sudden, this one day, he has a mishap? I mean, it is possible. I don't know.
According to reports, Chris got too close to the pool with his wheelchair and fell in, with nobody around to save him. And as I said, Chris had been in his wheelchair for almost 20 years. And according to Susie...
Okay, so let's put this into perspective. Been in the wheelchair almost 20 years. We would have to expect that wheelchair to almost be an arm or a leg, an extension of him. I bet you 20 years, he can probably do some tricks in his wheelchair. 20 years. That man knows everything about his wheelchair. I guarantee he's came to some close calls before, and because he knew his wheelchair is an extension of him. 20 years. And then on a Labor Day weekend, nobody's around, and he just so happens to go right into the pool.
Every day during the summer since 2013, they would go to this pool. So he was familiar with the area. But somehow, on Labor Day 2021, Chris misjudged how close he was to the pool and fell in. And guess who conducted his funeral?
It's very, very exciting. I was Chris's pastor to preach a...
I don't even know what to say. Don't even know what to say.
funeral in which I don't have to lie. It's probably my first funeral where I get to say all the truthful stuff.
I thought pastors weren't supposed to lie to begin with. That's why we come to you. You guys are supposed to be next to God.
And that's because we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Chris was a child of God, is a child of God, faithful husband, wonderful father, great friend, brother.
And if you want to read more about the life of Chris and Susie Skinner and how she's adapted to this tragic accident, you don't have to go very far. You just have to go to the pastor's own church website. The entire story is there. I want to be very clear.
He wants to be crystal clear, guys. Crystal clear.
This is all just circumstantial evidence. As of now, there's nothing connecting the two deaths. But I do believe this is a very important part to a story that's becoming very complicated. A story that, according to friends and family of Mica Miller, it's very dark. Darker than what the good pastor wants you to know.
This is creepy. This, guys, like I said, the reason this is the video that took me over the edge. This is the video that brought this to my front door. Because I heard about this case, I read about it, and I set up a Facebook, but I didn't really run with a story on it just yet. I was actually getting some new, trying to find some information, and of course, I found some information, and it's not looking good. And I just, my initial assessments, there is definitely more going on here than her just unaliving herself, her hating her life so much that she unalives herself. He mind-effed her. He mind-effed her really bad.
God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
So it seems like she was desperately trying to let people know the truth. She was letting people know this man was abusing her. And right when she gets the gumption to leave, to really leave for the first time since she was 14 years old, 2 days later, she's gone? Cut it out. Nobody's going to believe that hocus pocus. Nobody's going to believe that hocus pocus. So the only reason why I'm coming here, we're not opening the phone lines. We're not going to have like a major discussion on this topic right now. I just want you guys to get the fury. Okay? I want you guys to get the fury because it appears to be multiple people. If you heard in that article that I read, and we're going to get back to it, they talked about his second late wife. His second late wife. Is this her second late wife? I don't know. How many more people are in his wake? Because we've got a body on his girlfriend and a body on him. That doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. At all. So, where were we? 3 days later, we were talking about his girlfriend, Susie. That's where we stopped. So, 4 days later, he was seen and photographed in a restaurant called King Street Grill with the same supposed girlfriend, Susie. She is looking at the camera with her brows raised and her hands over her mouth. On May 1st, JP informed news outlet he could not do their scheduled interview as he was leaving town for a few days. Today, May 3rd, the church was permanently closed. Susie Skinner's husband's mysterious death. The girl from the recent photo. It was common knowledge that JP and Susie had been dating for years. There it is. Remember I said that one guy said what was the language he used? Hold on, let me find my pad here. For quite a while. He used the language for quite a while. And I said for quite a while can be a lot, could be something for anybody. Quite a while could be 6 months to one person, and quite a while can be 5 years to another person. And we're learning from this that JP and Susie had been dating for years while he's married to his wife. And while he's telling his congregation his wife is having mental problems, he's dating another woman. This is not conduct of a pastor. This is flamboyant, and it was in everybody's face. They have been sharing food and blankets at soccer games. They've been seen at water parks. In 2021, Susie's then husband was paralyzed and lived his life in a wheelchair, drowned in a pool. It was accidental, and yes, you read that right. Accidental. So it almost appears that they were dating before her husband had this drowning accident. Wayne Miller, another mysterious death. This is his father. Living in Myrtle Beach as well. Arrested for hooking up with a minor in a shower. M charges. And then he had charges expunged. This was in the 90s. He forced a J-1 visa student who paid to trail to the U.S. to attend his Bible college, failure to pay them even minimum wage, failure to provide them adequate shelter, food, and more. He had federal charges from ICE for abusing the immigrant students while with him. He was exposed for lewd acts in Pakistan a few years back. He was living in a private society at the time called Eden's Garden. That doesn't sound good. Which was full of young, remember his history of Jerry Savelle, who started the church in Pakistan that Wayne was associated with, passed away on April 14th, 2024 with no clear cause of death. In a video, you could see them talking to Dr. Jerry Savelle. Didn't know all the illegal things Wayne was doing and didn't realize Savelle, was contributing to it. So there's this history goes on. We're going to keep reading this because I'm interested. Also in Pakistan, he had planned to make false accusations in the Pakistan court system because he was about to get exposed for his S type of relationships and all the SA he was committing there. And if you guys know anything, Pakistan, that is, I'm pretty sure that is a firing squad type of crime, if I'm not mistaken. They live differently than we live here in the United States, guys. I just want to let you know. Don't be mad at me for saying that. It has nothing to do with me personally. It's just them, if I'm not mistaken. You'll do your own research, get your own facts. The allegations, we don't know what they were proven by to be false by Pakistan courts this past October. He then had his male companion come to America with his Pakistan sister, and Troy, Wayne's friend, was the sponsor to marry the sister so they could come here. The article about Troy from 2003 reads, a former Myrtle Beach area pastor is facing charges of child M. 32-year-old Robert Troy Taylor turned himself in to Georgetown County authorities on Saturday. He's the former pastor at Low Country Community. Jeez Louise. What is going on with the worship centers? He's the former pastor at the Low Country. Where's that at? Low Country Community Church in Morrell's Inlet, just south of, maybe it's just south of Myrtle Beach. The charges are reportedly connected to 2 incidents with 12-year-old boys. Jeez. JP's older son, he has a history of domestic abuse against his wife and serving time for hitting her over the head with a glass bottle in 2024. Search the hashtag Justice for Mica on Facebook and you can see videos, pictures, text message, etc. Please ignore the obituary this abuser wrote. It's so disgusting. Paints him as this amazing light. This is only the beginning. Her death was called a suicide, but Robe County is investigating it, and all of the information has been sent to our local police department as well as Robeson County. A protest is being held at public property outside of the church blocks away on Sunday at 9 a.m. Even though the news came out today, they are closed. This is for Mica. One of her last videos she uploaded to her Facebook was her speaking out about her abuse, and she looked so empty inside. Sorry if this was confusing, but I didn't think it was confusing. I think that lady had a way with words. I think she kept it very concise, very consistent, and I was able to follow it literally all the way through. I have a very good understanding of what is going on behind the scenes after this explanation. Sorry if this was confusing, but police have barely released any information except the basics, but the rest were from old articles and people's stories about her. I tried to piece it all together the best I could to show the entire family is about to go down, as they should have a long time ago. So there you have it, folks. That is what we are up against right now in this case. And this case, guys, this is a pastor. This is a pastor. This is making me at least a claimed pastor. Now, we're finding out there's his behavior is not that of what I would anticipate or expect from a pastor of any church that I would ever belong to. His behavior with the affairs, obviously people in his congregation knew he was seeing this woman. It was open, it was public, it was very demeaning. And can you imagine being a wife of a pastor and he is out with another woman? And you are being told you can't have a divorce and you can't live in your life and you have to stay there and deal with that? For me, I can't imagine. I was very fortunate. I mean, there was a situation that happened with my husband, like 6 months after we got married, but the whole decade we were married, that wasn't an issue. We didn't get divorced because of bedroom issues. We slept, even when we were separated and I slept in my room for 4.5 years and he slept in his room for 4.5 years, there was none of that. And that was 4.5 years. So, I don't know how a pastor can do that. I don't know how a congregation can follow a pastor that lives his life that way. If I wanted to live in sin, I can do sin all by myself. I go to church to be told, to be educated on the right ways to live my life. Am I going to do it perfectly? Of course not. The preacher doesn't like me cussing. I still cuss, okay? God forgive me, right? I'm not a perfect being. I do the best I can. I try. Some things are a little harder than others, okay? Nicotine, caffeine, and cussing, okay? Got a problem over here. Got a problem. So there you guys have it. What do you guys think? Pretty interesting, huh? It's a case that I wasn't really expecting out today. It was a case that I really wasn't expecting to draw in, and it's not something I really, the hard part is the pastor. So I have to remove the pastor from my thought because I don't know any pastor, any godly pastor that acts and behaves in this way or this manner. So I think this is a very interesting case. I hope you guys start diving into it. I hope it starts sparking your curiosity. We do have the Facebook group. Let me share that here. There we go. I would like everybody to get over here, the Unexplained Death of Mica Miller. This is the discussion group on that. I'd like you guys to get all over here. I just set this up today. It is a growing page, but this is where we're going to be sharing some detailed information about this case, getting our ducks in a row about this case. If you guys do spreadsheets, if you guys, if there's interviews, if there's other information, drop it in that group so we can all see it and get it. It's an open group. It's also for other creators that need information, that want to tap into some people. I have it completely open. You don't have to worry about, going through a process or anything like that. If you want to post in there, if you've got good videos that explain some stuff, post your videos in there as well. It's all about getting her name out there and getting as much information strummed up as possible. So hopefully you guys get over there, sub up to that group, and let's get cracking on this case, and let's start putting some information about this pastor in there. It looks like the pastor is we look at the people closest to it, but it does look like the pastor, I'm going to say his girlfriend as well, because his girlfriend's going to want to be the next Miss Miller, right? He's got her convinced she needs to be the next Miss Miller, and he can't be the next Miss Miller if he divorces his wife, right? There's no marriage going forward if his wife is still there, and he's not going to divorce her. She's been trying to divorce him. He's been fighting her for it because it's not the way to live your life under God, right? It'll be a ding in his armor, in his facade, to be a divorced pastor. So I believe that the girlfriend, we need to be looking into her as well, because I guarantee you he did not do this all by himself. Not if he's been seeing her for that many years. Absolutely not. Nope. And she was just about to leave. 2 days? 2 days? Cut it out. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. God bless you. I hope you learned something. I want your gears turning, and I know that this is already starting to spark because I know my people. I'm already in it. I'm like, this is already got me. It's already hooked me. And so this is where we're going to be going. We're going to be monitoring Sebastian Rogers. We're going to be looking at this case. There's a lot of meat to the bone on this case, and this is going to be, this is pretty dramatic. It's a pretty dramatic case. We've got a lot of moving parts with it. So let's get cracking. I love you guys. God bless. We'll see you soon. Rock it out with your coffee beans out, right?